Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Creative Brief by Here's to You. I'm your host, Hud Oberly, a.k.a. Huddleberry Finn, coming to you live from the beautiful borough of Brooklyn, New York. Oh, feels so good to be back in front of the podcast. It was only a week, but it just feels so good to have this miniature microphone in my hand. Got the camera one, got the camera two, we got the light behind me. I forgot to turn on the light last time, and it really makes a difference. Let me know if it makes a difference to you. I think it looks good back there. It just feels good to be back. Thanks for being here. If you aren't subscribed on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify Podcasts, please subscribe. Throw me a little bone. If you're feeling it, do a review. I don't really know what that does, but at least the subscribes, especially the YouTube. The YouTube will be built up to share more than just a podcast, but be highlighting artists, a lot of stuff behind the scenes for Here's to You. Getting on a tangent already. What I'm wearing the black blank canvas vest. Now, if you haven't been around Here's to You for too long, you won't know about this, but this was released November of 22, the first fall of the brand being launched, and I made this baby with my two bare hands. These two hands right here that you're seeing on the camera. Like literally from like fabric from Mood Fabrics in Midtown Manhattan. Got the fabric, used my little home sewing machine, still works, didn't break it using this. This is canvas. This is black organic canvas, lined with a cotton. This one is a cotton twill lining. There's another one. The natural colored canvas has a red sateen lining. But one of my favorite things about this vest is the pocketing. You can go in from the side, put your AirPods, even your phone in there, or you can use the opposite hand. Boom! Top entry to the same pocket area. Grab your AirPods, throw them in. I loved making these. These were so fun, and they look fire. They're stiff, and that's I feel like that has a negative connotation, but they're sturdy. They're sturdy and they're heavy. If you ordered one, if you have one, cherish that with your life. There will not be any more that I will be making. Hopefully the blank canvas collection comes back. I really want it to come back. I'll talk about that in a future podcast or some other time because we're already killing time here. But yeah, that's what I'm wearing. Unfortunately, it's not available anywhere, but you can enjoy it. There's a couple back here, but it's more for styling. If anyone wanted to wear it on a red carpet, anything like that. Had a little bit of that when they first came out, but if you're a stylist and you want like a minimal design, no branding except just the inner tag, then hit me up. We can work out a little deal. Okay, as I say every week, you can find Here's to You at Relative Arts NYC in the East Village in Manhattan. I restocked there a couple weeks ago, but I threw in like the textured Henley, the creative department cap, a restock of the corduroy cap embroidered H2Y on the front, the icon logo. More tank tops are over there, rib tank tops. Those were the best sellers last year, and from the Relative Arts themselves. The tank tops were the best sellers some of the months last year of all the products they have. So more of those there. I feel like there's more there. More tote bags that support Indigenous art fly off the shelves there. So go check it out if you're in Manhattan. If you're in NYC, come to visit. Maybe in the spring or the summer, check out Relative Arts. They're coming up on their 1 year, April 1st. So doing a good job. Really proud of them. Close friends of the podcast. That's all at Relative Arts. You can also find everything that's in stock for Here's to You at here's2yuh2y.com. And now we'll move to before I get into the updates, I just want to, reset what the creative brief is for anyone who's new. As we're on episode 7 now. As we are in these first few potters, I'm going to kind of keep resetting what the creative brief is. So it's just a 20 to 25 minute chat about creative journey. That's the main thing. And that's kind of like the bookend No, that's not the bookend. That's the meat and the potatoes of the podcast, is the creative journey conversation. Just talking about like what my spidey senses are feeling, that creatives are going through right now. And you know, it's always going to be relatable. I'm going to niche it down to like my personal experience, but also just hopefully get you to, well, I want to uncover some nuggets of creative lessons in that conversation and throughout the podcast, the question of the week and the art I saw last week. Just want to uncover some creative lessons. Also want you to walk away from the podcast with just an additional perspective on your own creative thought process, because I'm not trying to make you believe what I believe, but I just want to offer up maybe an additive perspective to how you think about your creative process throughout the day, or just, I say creative process, but it can just be your own thought process, your own perspective. Because I love to, like, I'll listen to opposing perspectives just so I can like hear what's going on the other side of the where the grass is greener. I don't know, I'm losing track of my analogies already, um but that's kind of the point of the creative brief. Walk away with an additional perspective to maybe integrate into your own thought process, maybe not. But it's always gonna, I'm trying to definitely gonna try to keep it entertaining. You never know, I'll throw a random analogy in there. I mean, I didn't get any feedback on the analogies from last week, but I thought they were pretty good. The yacht and Finding Nemo, the Rip Current, episode 6, check it out. And now the updates for Here's to You. I feel like I've talked about this kind of this sweater that's supposed to be coming up. Well, this is coming out, what, the 23rd, 21st. Today's the 21st, 23rd, I think. There will be the first Here's to You release of 2024 in March. Can't tell you yet which weekend. First or second weekend, though. There will be a Here's to You release of multiple items. That's all the teasers you'll get out of me today, but more to come probably in next week's episode. But this is where the updates will be about, like, Here's to You, upcoming events around the country. There's stuff in the works in the Southwest at the moment. There's definitely going to be some events in New York in the spring. This is the brand updates will get a little more juicier as the year goes on. Okay, now we're in it. You've made it. You've made it to the question of the week. Before we dive into that, though, please subscribe to the YouTube. Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you listen. I really appreciate it. I'm not going to go too crazy on it. Just subscribe. If you like what you're listening to, if you're entertained, um, subscribe. Support the podcast. We're growing. We're just filling it out, which that will relate to our creative journey conversation. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. New question of the week that I want you to answer in the comments of the YouTube video. I'm going to be active replying to people in the YouTube comments of this video for Here's to You. I think you can search Here's to You H2Y, one word, but definitely search the creative brief H2Y. You'll find the podcast, the whole video, the full length video on YouTube. New question of the week is, what are you stuck on or working through creatively at the moment? Now, you may need to get a little vulnerable. It don't have to be, don't need your life story, don't need to like hear all the details of something you're working through creatively, but you might have to get a little vulnerable. But my hope is that in the comments of the YouTube video, of the Instagram post, of the LinkedIn post, of the TikTok, of the Facebook post, people will join in the conversation on whatever you're working through. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to be so excited to report back, but hopefully people dive in, offer some pieces of advice for you, whatever you comment that you're working through. Here's to You as a creative community, as I like say that a million times throughout my life ever since the brand launched. But it's a creative community. It's where you can come and get some advice. It's where you can offer your own expertise from your own life experience. It's a community we're a community in the comments. We're a community in person whenever those live events come around. So, one more time. What are you stuck on or working through creatively at the moment? For me, my answer is consistent clothing production, because as I just said, my first release of the year for Here's to You is potentially the middle of March, which I don't know. Is that I'd like to be more consistent. And I don't know if that means once a month, but I definitely would have loved to have already put out a new concept for Here's to You, something to just like have in the smallest, simplest situation, something to post. Like, I mean, I love the content I'm making, and it's making me be creative. Posting about the current availability of Here's to You and integrating artists into reels and short form video and photo diaries that is actually out. Posted the first photo diary episode, quote unquote, is out right now. But that is fun. But I just would like to have some clothing production in circulation by this point. So that's something I'm working on. I think that really the answer to that is, wow, I'm gonna have to get a little vulnerable here, but I think just making time to learn, because even though I've created clothing, quote unquote, for the podcast listeners, um, for 4 years now, about 4 years, there's still so much I need to learn for me to put out my creative ideas, because I have these ideas, but I don't have all the knowledge to put them into action and make them into a physical object at the moment. So I think I'm honestly, if I'm being totally vulnerable, I'm hesitating on taking the time to teach myself, and um, the humbling experience of making mistakes through the process. I'm literally thinking out loud right now, but making mistakes through the process of learning and trying to get my creative ideas out there. It kind of worked with the vest here, but I can only sew so fast, and I can only. I mean, I'm very new to sewing. I've been creating clothing for longer than I've known how to sew. I guess designing clothing, I should say. But as I look at myself in the mirror at the vest, um, so yeah, I think that's what it is for me. That's what I'm working through right now. Is like um, the humbling experience of the steps I need to take to get to a point of consistent clothing production. So that's my answer. Let me know in the comments. Please comment. I'm gonna put my comment in there. Maybe you have some advice for me, but don't let me sit out there solo with my own vulnerability. So last week's question of the week, I really liked. There were so many good answers, and I think I may use the answers in future podcasts. So let me dive into exactly what I mean by that. So the question was, what do you wish people asked you about your art? And got great comments on the Instagram photo. I actually wrote all of them down here. So we have, what do you enjoy most about it? Where does this come from? Which I like, because it's like, where does this come from can mean so many different things. Like, where does it come from on a internal individual level? Where does it come from? Maybe like obviously talking about indigenous art, like the people that it comes from, the artistic practices that are specific to specific tribes and nations. Like, that could be how you answer, where does this come from? And also just creatively, the concept, obviously. So where does this come from? How did you develop your process? I'm a big behind the scenes fan. Like, I love seeing the process. So that's a great question. I would definitely probably answer that or ask that. What did you learn? Okay, this one's kind of a long one, but I do like it. What did you learn or come to understand about yourself or life or humanity or the world through the process of creating this piece? Wow. I want to read that again. What what did you learn or come to understand about yourself or life or humanity or the world through the process of creating this piece? Wow, if I got asked that question, I'd probably need that to be repeated to me probably 4 times at least. Deep question, but I like how it's a very macro view of like, what is the big picture of this? Where, or what is the big picture of what you experienced creating the piece of art that you created? And I got some late submissions that I just threw down right before I started recording this. On the Facebook post, I got, what inspired you to create this? A classic, like, what is the inspiration behind this piece? Always good to talk about. Always good to have that answer in your back pocket if you're an artist, because you will get asked that question. And then one that came in was, what impact have you seen your art make over time? I love that one. That's a good one. So what I'm thinking about, and maybe this should have been a brand update, but I do want to add some guests to the podcast soon, and I think there's an opportunity to have a um, random question segment. So like I would throw these questions into a hat or something and make the guest draw one and they have to answer it. So I think all these could be totally added to that. Um, Guest will be added soon to the podcast. Little brand update. Wow, really just skipped over that on the earlier segment, but yeah, last question of the week. Loved it. Looking forward to your responses to this week's question of the week. What are you stuck on or working through creatively at the moment? Okay, now the creative journey conversation. Okay, throwing spaghetti at the wall. I had to look up that idiom because I always mess it up. But the creative journey, in the creative journey, I feel like so many people, and I want to say nowadays, but maybe it's all the time, like it's been all the time. But I feel like there's always time to throw spaghetti at the wall. And if you're not familiar with that saying, trying new things, like seeing what sticks, throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. Yeah, because like to me, I don't know, like I guess there are artists I know that have like one thing that they do, like they have a and deeper than just like painting or sculpture or writing, like they have one style or probably style of their art that they do, and that's what they do, that's their thing. But I don't know, I'm maybe, and maybe this is just me, but I love trying new things. I want to see what sticks. And also I'm all from coming from a perspective of really early in the here's to you journey, having been like the company, the business hasn't been around for 2 years yet. So I'm very early in the stages. I'm probably in the most like throw stuff against the wall, throw spaghetti against the wall. I'm just like throwing chairs against the wall, like nothing's sticking. The chair isn't sticking. But throwing spaghetti at the wall phase of here's to you, because it's the beginning. My plan before I even launched, like, may not work. I could have spent all that time planning it. It may not work, and that's probably what, what I'm having to be. That's what I have to ask myself with the question of the week this week, is like the clothing production. I do always want clothing and fashion and the creative expression that clothing brings to be a part of here's to you, but I'm doing a podcast right now. Maybe that's a main vessel for here's to you as well, or maybe it's the live event. I'm just, like I said, I'm throwing stuff, spaghetti, not stuff. Make sure it's spaghetti. Throwing spaghetti at the wall with here's to you. I love the podcast. It gets me just excited to be in front of this camera here and hold this mic and talk to you all. I think that's what was maybe a little tough the first year, almost a year and a half of the brand, was like I'm just in this little box, this studio here, sewing away or creating away, which is great. But I do love this like interaction and just love like talking to you all. So, um, I don't know. I don't see myself as ever really having like one niche. I've always been trying to throw spaghetti at the wall. Um, and I mean, I would always encourage it if someone ever asked me like I'm stuck or I'm don't know what to do right now. I'm just like, just try a bunch of stuff. And even when you're in your maybe zone of something, you you may always want to keep like some unpredictability. I don't know if that's the right word. Unpredictability for, you want to leave the door cracked, I guess, for you to pursue other things that may come up that may pique your interest later on. So if you're always trying something new, always like throwing stuff out there to see if it sticks, maybe that's something you run with eventually. So throwing spaghetti at the wall, and also with that, when you try new things, I think what's really important is to give those ideas time. Um, like you can't just be like you give it one shot and then it's like done. It can't be like a 3 month try. I think it has to be longer. I mean, obviously situationally depends, but if you really want to give an idea a shot, I think you got to give it a lot of time, a lot of behind the scenes effort, a lot of like detailed effort too. Like I brought up in the beginning of the podcast, this light back here, small detail. Um, Bought it on Amazon for I don't know, probably less than $15. Small detail, but those are the little things that maybe make a difference, but you're putting in that effort to make an idea work and you're not just like giving it one shot, oh, didn't work, not going to do it anymore. So, I think that's the one of the larger messages of that is to give ideas time. Another thing I'm trying out, as I've mentioned on the podcast a lot, is LinkedIn. I on my with my personal LinkedIn, I can post something, post like a story or a photo, and get some engagement. Share the word, not to be religious, but share the word of Here's to You. But on the Here's to You account, if I post from there, it's like nothing, like one like, one like. If I'm lucky, one like. So I don't know. I'm trying it out though. I'm like, I want to keep consistent with it because I know all those business people, all you business people on LinkedIn have creative outlets, have creative hobbies that you probably want to talk about, or just I don't know, fuel the fire of those creative outlets and creative hobbies. So that's the creative journey conversation. Throwing spaghetti at the wall. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about the throwing spaghetti. Um, Lastly, before we head out of here, art I saw last week. Um, saw the Oscar nominated live action short films for 2024. Oscars are March 10th. A lot of stuff happening for the Oscars, but I saw no, not animated, the live action short films. Gonna run through them real quick. The After by Misan Harriman. I like him a lot. I've actually didn't realize he was the director of it, but I've followed him on social media. He has some good content about creativity and artists and all that. Invincible by Vincent Rene Lordy. Knight of Fortune, Lasse Lisger Nur. These are some foreign films in here. Red, White, and Blue, Nazrin Choudhury. Wonderful Life, Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, Wes Anderson. Now let me just like shout out short films in general here for a second. I love short films, and I didn't really know much about them until I started working at the Sundance Film Institute. Yes, the puts on the film festival, all that. But I worked in their Indigenous program almost right out of college, and learned so much about short films, and I love them. Usually 5 to 30 minutes long, but I love them because when you make a short film, you have to have so much detail. No, not detail. Yeah, I guess you have to be so intentional about everything because you only have 5 to 30 minutes to tell a story. And sometimes a story, if it's not tight enough, and you watch a short film, you don't know what's happening because there's so many things you kind of have to like cut out to make the time or to keep it as a short film. So you have to be so intentional about every detail of every little thing, how long the characters are in the car, what they're wearing, because everything has a message. I love the intentionality and the detail of short films. So I was like, this will be cool. I don't know why I assumed they'd all be like happy films. I'm like so not a fan of scary movies, thrillers. You can miss me. Um, Dramas, if they have a happy ending. I'm more of a rom com guy. Sometimes heavier on the rom, sometimes heavier on the com. But the first one, and I if you go see them, I'm not spoiling anything. But the first one, happy film, mother daughter, no, father daughter, boom, there's a stabbing almost out of nowhere, and I'm like, what? Front door. And I was like, this, I'm in for a ride right now because no telling what these other films are about. So the first one, obviously, there's a stabbing. Second one, what was the second one? Um, Juvenile kid, getting in trouble. Not the happiest. Um, Knight of Fortune was about older men losing their wives, and they're at the crematorium, funeral home, whatever. Not the best vibes. And Red, White, and Blue. I You will walk away sad if you watch that. And then I knew that they were going to close on a happier one, but Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, happier vibes. Um, so yeah, saw that Sunday evening or Sunday matinee. I was like, oh, I'll just like pop in, watch some films. It'll be like artsy. I'll be able to talk about this on art I saw last week. Boom, 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 boom. Heavy subjects, heavy moments. Not what I thought. um, but yeah, I love short films. That's what art I saw last week is about. I hope you go see some art this weekend. This week, oh, this will come out Friday, so maybe you see some art this weekend. Go to your local gallery, museum, check out art. It always just adds a um, additional perspective, kind of like what my intention with the creative brief is to just like, get some creative thoughts going, add an additional perspective to your daily thought process. So that's going to be the episode. That's the creative brief by Here's to You for the creative in you. See you next week. Peace.